There's this cognitive bias. There's a few cognitive bias. Confirmation bias, which is when you're just seeking information that already validates your existing point of view. There's some cognitive biases where you don't have enough. You have to know when you have enough information to form an opinion or to make a decision. I'm curious whether Tom Sosnoff can steelman the other side of his own arguments. In other words, can you do a good faith definition of your opposition's point of view on a few of issues? So you can call this segment Saz versus Saz if you want to. What I'm curious can you actually outline? Do you have an informed opinion on what your opposition thinks on a few issues? I'm gonna do 3 of these. Maybe we'll make it to 3, or you'll just say I don't like this. Get the hell off my network, and we'll get out of here. But I want to see. Go ahead.
This is going to be a tough one for me because
I know it is. I know, that's my point.
Yeah, I don't
putting
really
up the mirror to you, Thomas.
It's a reflection.
I don't really think I do. I don't think I will do a good job. You know, my
You owe yourself?
no, my brain is trained not to think that way. But go ahead, I'll try.
Okay. All right, let's give this a shot.
Okay.
So I'm curious, can Tom Sosnoff steelman tariffs from the U.S. perspective?
Can I what?
Can you give a case that defends the case for tariffs from the U.S. perspective? When you steelman the other side, you're building up a case, and when you straw man it, you're not doing a good faith job of defending the other side's argument. So can Tom Sosnoff, even though you don't believe that it's the right sort of economic
Can you see a
policy,
silver lining in it or something like that?
Yeah.
can you defend the other side?
Can I see a silver lining in tariffs? Sometimes people have motives.
It's not even can you see the other. It's not even you. Do you see the silver lining? It's just what does the opposition say? Can you make the argument for the opposition? That's what steelman means.
Yeah,
but go wherever you want to.
The argument for the opposition is it's an attempt to bottom out so that, and I know you're going to think this is it's kind of like almost burning down the forest. It's tanking. Here, a better way to say it that makes more sense to everybody is they're tanking, and the reason they're tanking is to put themselves in a position because it's early in the 4-year cycle. So if you tank in the first 6 months, then everything you do going forward will look better. It'll look like you've actually turned things around and saved everything. And then you can be a hero when you lift everything and the market responds accordingly or whatever else happens. So all they're doing, the upside to tariffs right now is, and by the way, this is not something that I'm not necessarily sure this is going to work because China tried the same thing. They tanked and it failed. And now we're trying that strategy of tanking, and I think it's going to fail too. But that's the way that would be what I would call this. And I don't like when anybody tanks, sports teams, politicians, or whatever. But that's what this is. Essentially, you can think it's whatever. You can think it's a economic strategy. I call this tanking. It's to set the bar so low that coming back for the next 3 years, everything you do is a win. That's the attempt here.
So that's all right. That's what your argument, your steelman of the other side in opposition of tariffs is that they're tanking the first 6 months so that they can look better on the back end of the 4-year administration.
It gives them a lot of flexibility with respect to how they set economic policy, everything from interest rates all the way on down, and it gives them they can blame things on past administration. You can blame it on whatever you want, but it gives you an opportunity then to right the ship and make a very strong political statement. It later on, even though you're lame duck, later on over the next 3 years. That's what I think.
All right. I got 2 more, but before I go there, I've been so curious. I know you guys play cards. And so
it's been a while.
The 25% the 25% tariffs on Canada went into effect. Before they did, though, the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, he wanted to play a little cards, it seems, with Donald Trump and the administration. And he threatened to slap on a 25% energy tariff and shut off energy to like 3 U.S. states. And Donald Trump retaliated with the threat of increasing tariffs from 25% on Canada to 50%. And then Howard Lutnick gave the Premier, Doug Ford, a call. And it seems like the Ontario Premier backed down. I'm curious. Did you follow this whole saga? And
I mean, I followed it.
Did you follow this whole saga over the last couple of days?
I followed it, but I didn't follow it on Fox News. Does that mean I followed it?
You are a sharp shooter.
I mean, Tony sent me the headlines.
I will give you that.
Tony sent me the headlines, but I didn't actually follow because A, I don't have a TV, and B, if I did, Jake Tapper didn't cover it on his TikTok.
All right, let me ask you this question. Let me ask it this way, because Chris and I had this debate yesterday. What I saw was just, I put the politics aside, economic policy aside. I just saw a card game, and I saw a bet, a 25%, and I saw an Ontario Premier who tried to raise the bet by saying, "I'll call your 25% and I'll shut off energy. I'm gonna slap on a 25% energy tariff, and I'm gonna shut off energy to three states who are MAGA supporters." And I think so. Basically, Trump got raised. And you can do one of two things in that situation. You can fold the cards, or what else can you do, Tom? You
First
can
of all,
raise.
I find it interesting that you think that any of this is healthy economic policy. Like, I just think that cracks me up.
That's not where I'm going. I said put the policy to the side, put the politics aside. Think of this as a card game. You have two options here in the negotiation. You can either fold or raise. And we raised, and the better fold.
But the funny thing is, I don't know anything about. I mean, you're just parroting what some idiot network said. You don't know any of the truth. You don't have no idea what went on.
Let's not use idiot. Just say financial news media.
Financial news media for the slow adults.
I don't watch anything.
I don't know.
S&P's down 46, Victor. I'm blaming you.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
Yeah,
I don't really care. Like you're talking about somebody that is not a Howard Lutnick fan from way before.
I'm not either.
From way, way before this. I didn't even know he was going to be part of this. I mean, I have not been a fan since all the bullshit he's pulled over the last 20 years since 9/11. So I'm not a fan, just so you know.
Chris said he'll be one of the first to go from the administration. I totally agree.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's a good call.
100%.
All right, let me ask you this. Let's do the Steelman again. Can you give the argument, a good faith argument for the opposition of why we should be privatizing the U.S. economy? So right now, total government spending in the United States makes up about 36% of GDP. It's 23% of federal spending, but total spending, when you include state spending, it's about 36% of GDP. Can you steelman the case why we should be moving economic activity away from government and government spending, away from the public sector and into the private sector? Can you steelman that?
I can't. I think there's obviously you can find certain cases where you might want to privatize some stuff, but if you're talking about like things like healthcare and things like that, no, I think it's idiotic. You're talking about like things like, healthcare, postal service. I don't know what you're talking about privatizing, but for the most part, no, I'm not a fan of privatizing, government services. I think you get into a very dangerous situation when that happens. And that's not where I want to see this country go.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
This is the last one. I'm gonna bail on the third one.
Thank God.
How will you? Is there is there a possibility? How will you know? How do you know? How does Tom Sosnoff know when he's wrong about a political ideology, a point of view, about a candidate, about a person he backed, about a trade? How do you know you're
Well, that's really
wrong?
interesting. I know I'm wrong when I make a bad trade because I know the money is, I can tell based on the money. If I lose money, it's a bad trade, right?
Black and white. Sure.
If you lose the game, you can tell if you won or lost the game. I think it's incredibly difficult, almost impossible to ever, to change I don't think you're ever going to admit you're wrong on anything else, that's like political or social, because I don't think, I mean, maybe we change a little bit about certain things. We might have a different opinion about certain social things that happen to us throughout the course of our lives and things like that. But very rarely do people change their opinions on people, I think. I don't know. I mean, I don't see that happening too much. Most people I know are pretty, they might hate somebody less or like somebody more, but I don't think they change that much. I don't know.
Don't you think all of this polarizing that we have between the country really stems from both sides?
No, it stems from one person.
Hold on one time or another, not compromising at all with the other side. We always compromise.
We have for centuries.
We have for centuries until the last few decades.
Until the last.
No, don't say the last 3 months. I mean,
until the last. Listen,
you can't.
Donald Trump changed this country forever, and I don't think. And if you can't see that,
then say for the last decade, because if it was tit for tat 8 years ago,
we were never this decisive.
What's that?
We're never as divisive as we are right now.
Divisive.
And
yeah, I agree with you.
That's
but
it.
Don't you think it's because both sides couldn't compromise with each other? See, that's why, like how?
No, I don't think it's. I really don't think it's that. I think because we lost our ability for.
Well, you certainly didn't write it the 4 years prior to that by pushing things in the face of people that had different points of view than the people in power.
We need to get back to
we need to get back to compromise.
Of course, we need to get back to compromise, and we also need to get back to where there could be a point and a counterpoint.
It was a great show, by the time I mentioned earlier this morning,
and where people can have a discussion. And you're not necessarily going to change somebody's opinion. That's right. But you can have a discussion. That world.
I can see your point of view and move a little bit to your direction to make you not win, but happy enough that you say, all right, I got a little bit my way. Maybe over time they'll see that it was the right thing. What I
find interesting is that you don't see. It's hard for you to see when the world changed and we became so one-sided, and you don't pin that to somebody. You think that that's something that happened like organically, and it wasn't.
I think it really started happening, if you want to go back to, Bush, Clinton kind of, that's when I really thought it really started happening. That's why I say decades.
What's funny is when I saw Bush and Clinton speak together,
they loved each. They were great, you said.
Yeah, they were like best buddies. And when I saw them speak together, I was like, hey, this made me feel good about politics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't sense that anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think that either, obviously it was never George Bush.
I can't believe the Italian guy from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, saying we need to compromise and just talk with each other. Vic, did you ever see that card being played? I don't think so.
I'm all for that.
No, but I will tell you, it's hard to have point counterpoint. It's hard to have negotiation. It's hard to have compromise if you can't make a steelman case for the other side. Mm. If you can't make a good faith argument for the opposition, then how can you be so blindly in favor of your side if you don't know the other side's point of view? And with that, I'm going to get out of here before you have a chance to respond. Good night,
Seriously.
everybody.
When did he got dropped on his head? He must have.